The French and the Spanish fought one another during the 30 Years' War, but while the rest of Europe made peace in 1648, the Franco-Spanish War continued until 1659. In the end, the French annexed territory in Flanders and Catalonia, and Maria Theresa of Spain had to marry the young Louis XIV. The Spanish also had to pay large dowry to the French, but in exchange she had given up all claims to her father's lands. But during this time, European states often shifted allegiances. For instance, after the English Civil War, Cromwell's Commonwealth fought the Spanish alongside the French, while the exiled royalists fought with the Spanish. Cromwell also fought the Dutch, who in turn had helped the Danish stop a Swedish invasion, and in the Netherlands, politics was split between the pro-English Orangists, who supported the Prince as stadholders, and the States Party, Republicans like the De Witt brothers who supported the French. Plus, the 30 Years' War had decentralized the Holy Roman Empire, and France was able to create the League of the Rhine, with states like Bavaria, Mainz, Trier and Cologne. This alliance secured France's eastern border, as the states in this alliance wouldn't allow troops to enter their territory. This meant the Spanish could no longer send troops from Italy to the Spanish Netherlands along the Spanish Road. Meanwhile, in 1661, Louis XIV began ruling by himself, and began to look to expand. And in 1665, Philip IV of Spain died, leaving his son from his second marriage, Charles II, as king. However, he was just a boy, and Louis argued that his wife, Maria Theresa, as a child from Philip's first marriage, was the rightful heir to rule Brabant. Plus, Spain had not paid the dowry, so Louis believed that all past agreements were now void. Spain, meanwhile, was preoccupied with the Portuguese Independence War, and the influx of silver from the New World caused crippling inflation. So Louis tried to form an alliance with the old enemies of Spain, the Dutch, but they were already at war with the restored English monarchy and believed Louis demanded too much land. So with no major allies, Louis just decided to rapidly expand his army to over 80,000 men and attacked the Spanish Netherlands in May 1667. The few Spanish militias in the Low Countries could not hold back the French, so in order to prevent the French from taking it, they destroyed the defences around Charleroi. But the famous engineer Vauban was quickly able to rebuild the fortifications of the city after it was taken in early June. From there, the main French army took Ath and entered Tournai on the 25th, while another force took Fournes. The Spanish did manage to hold their position at Dendermonde, preventing the French from advancing on Antwerp, but the French just picked off surrounding strongholds like Lille in August. So as campaigning stopped from the winter, Louis had captured all of his objectives, and the Spanish had failed to respond. Meanwhile, the Dutch had devastated the English fleet and forced Charles II to sue for peace months earlier. Charles II of England tried to enter into an alliance with the French in exchange for subsidies, which would free him from needing Parliament's approval. But when this was rejected, he entered into an alliance with his old enemy, the De Witts of Netherlands, who had become worried about France's expansion nearby. Plus, Charles II had also made an alliance with the Portuguese, who in turn had achieved their independence from Spain. So the Spanish were now free to move their troops east against the French, and the English and Dutch could now well enter the war on Spain's side. In order to strengthen his position before this happened, Louis marched his troops into French Comte. However, while there he attacked Bescanon, which was a free city, and this angered the states of the Holy Roman Empire, including those in the League of the Rhine, which disbanded shortly afterwards. Nevertheless, the whole region fell in just over 2 weeks, and the French expanded their army again to prepare for further advances into Spanish Netherlands and to drive back the Spanish who were advancing into Catalonia. However, Sweden also joined England and the Netherlands, forming the Triple Alliance. So now, fighting a war on 2 fronts, and fearing 3 other nations could enter the war, Louis's ministers began pressuring him to make peace. Hostilities ended in March, and peace was made in May 1668, meaning the coalition was successful in stopping France from expanding too much. Louis was allowed to keep 12 cities, including Lille and Tournai, but he felt that he had been betrayed by the Dutch. After all, the French had aided them in fighting the Spanish for decades, and even aided them in fighting the English more recently. So he spent the next few years isolating the Dutch by forming alliances with England and Sweden, and the Franco-Dutch War erupted in 1672.